Welcome to the Popcorn Talk Network. For the online... Welcome to the Popcorn Talk Network. For the online broadcast network that features movie discussion, news, and interviews, press 1. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. From the Popcorn Talk Network and producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, and Phil Svitek, this is iTalk Movies. Long-form interviews with leading members of the film industry. And now, your host of iTalk Movies.
Well, hello, movie fans and lovers of cinema. This is Demetri, and today in iTalk Movies, boy, do I have very special guests in-house to talk about a horror movie, a creature feature horror movie, since Halloween is right around the corner. And today we are going to talk about horror movies. We're going to talk about the rigors of filming on location in Alaska and digital filming and all the craziness of ratings and horror past, present, and future. And along with me to do this is the director of Unnatural, Hank Braxtan. Say hello.
Hello.
And then we have a very lovely and talented Stephanie. Help me out with your last name, please.
Hey, wait,
What do you want to
ready
use
for
today?
It? It's
Yes.
Hodos.
Hodos?
Hodos.
H-O-D-O-S. Or
Hodos.
E-S. Okay.
Yep.
We will talk about this later, but the headache you caused me, let me tell
can
you.
imagine.
You have no idea. I didn't know who I was interviewing.
I always like to be a surprise.
Well, it was a pleasant surprise. I'm very happy that you folks came in today to talk about your movie that you directed and you accomplished, and you're able to get it out there and have people see it. I myself, I just saw it Amazon Prime. Very nice. You can rent it, own it, HD, which is great. I'm gonna toss it to you, being the director. They'd rather hear it from your mouth. Tell us about Unnatural.
Well, first, I just wanted to add on to, not only is it available on Amazon, but
Yes.
it's on Xbox, it's
Great.
on Vudu, it's on AT&T On Demand,
It's on Google Play also.
Google Play. It's on, and it's supposed to be on iTunes.
iTunes.
You know,
it is on iTunes.
I can't find it.
Okay, here's the irony of irony. I watched on. I told you, just Amazon Prime. But
I love Amazon, by the way.
but I got Amazon Prime through my Xbox.
Oh,
I didn't know it was on. I could have skipped the step.
Quick tech tip for anybody that uses Xbox: when you go to the TV and movie sections, search through the Xbox for your film titles, and the Xbox will tell you which app has it and what price and which is a rental, which is a buy, that kind of thing, and then you can just pick what you want.
That's cool.
That's the way to go.
Yeah. Well, I could have skipped a step. But it doesn't
just,
matter.
Important safety tip.
Nice. Cool. So tell us, what is Unnatural? What's it about?
Unnatural. It's a classic creature feature film that we shot on location in Alaska in January of 2014. So it was like super freezing, and it's just a typical, science went too far, created a monster they couldn't control, and now it's on the rampage, eating everyone it can.
Eating everyone? Yeah.
Everyone.
Yes. And so it's funny because one of the things, too, I want to talk about location shooting, but another thing that really struck me about the movie is your use of practical effects. The practical effects seem to be it seems to be in a renaissance, so to speak. People are talking more about using practical effects. And it's really funny. It's funny to me as a person growing up watching horror movies, science fiction, all genres. That's what they used, practical effects. And then when digital came along, it was like, hey, we got this new digital, we got CG. It'll be cheaper to use, and we can, because we're not making, we don't have puppeteers and whatever. And now it's going back to practical effects, where they're going, this is how we're going to save on budget.
Well, it took us, 15, 20 years to really figure out that new tool.
Right.
And when a new tool comes out for filmmakers, you see it all the time. Everyone gets excited. It gets overused. It's the de facto tool for years and years. And eventually you start to see the cracks in it and what aren't working. And then you go, oh, well, maybe we should use this other thing that's cooler, or people just appreciate it. Some of it's obviously nostalgia, because us horror fans grew up before CGI came around. But it's also, it's psychological. People see, if they see a CGI bear in a movie, they know it's a CGI bear.
Yeah.
Like, nobody's like, oh, that's a real bear. Like, same thing when they see an animatronic one. They're like, oh, that's not a real bear, it's a thing. But in your brain, you're like, it's there. It's
Right.
like, it's happening. It's cool. There's something artistic about it.
I always find that with practical effects, using models. And again,
Love
I
some
can use
models.
I can, like going to the original Star Wars, going to Star Trek, the original movies, the original series, and even like Next Gen and the various other series up to Enterprise. They were using models, and to me, there's a tangibility.
Right.
Like there's something about the way that the light hits that model, or that monster or that creature effect that they can't. I just don't think there's a way to capture it in CG. It seems to be more solid.
Right.
Like I can touch it. It's the way that light reflects or shadows or things like that. And I had a great conversation last night. We were talking about horror movies, and we were talking about some John Carpenter stuff. Particularly in this instance, it was The Fog, and talking about the practical effects
Right.
and use of the fog, and how they would use miniatures, and they would do in-camera, trickery.
The miniatures are cool. It's so imaginative. You know, it's
is.
like it's another world.
You have to think outside of the box. So with Unnatural, same thing. Did you have to think outside of the box in order to make
absolutely.
this bear come to life?
Well, first of all, it's an indie film, so you're doing it on a budget right off the bat. So you're
Right.
you don't get all the time and luxury you want to develop this thing forever. And when the monster came up, we were still working on it. Like when it showed up in Alaska, we'd been shooting for a week. And even once that showed up, it was it was all clean and looked all nice and wasn't really scary. And so Ron Carlson, the producer, and me and the DP Mark Carter all huddled in our hotel room like, well, we got to make this thing scary. And Ron was pretty nervous about it. He wanted us to think about doing some CGI shots too. But Mark was, he's as the DP, he's like, well, it's just once we get the angles right and we'll dirty it up. And that's what we did. We covered it with sticks and things like that, and we made it get dirtier and dirtier, and we really treated it like another character that we're just working with in the film, which was I think lent to the life that goes into it.
Yeah.
And, part of that's the guy in the suit, who's also great.
Well, I wanted to ask you about that too. Like, how many parts was the? Well, what do you call this bear in the movie? There is a myth, a legend that's recounted about a man-eater.
But that's a mythological bear.
Right.
That's just like what the locals talk
Right.
about. But the scientific bear in this film is called Beta Bear.
Beta bear.
Because it's it's like the second version.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they've already screwed up a couple of them.
Right.
So this is Beta.
Okay,
Beta.
so this is Beta Bear.
Yeah.
Died.
Yeah.
The alpha died. So okay, so the Beta Bear, how big was it? How many parts was it? Was it man in the suit? Because I also read that there was puppeteering involved. Obviously, it had makeup, and that's the other thing too. I think that there were certain shots of the bear that if it had been CG, it like there's like blood in his whiskers, and they actually it looks like fur, and you can make fur look great, in CG, but there's that tangibility where you have the blood would be dripping, and
yeah, it's really tough. And just going into it, we talked about how we wanted to make this movie like it was in the 80s or 70s, and like we're gonna get everything while we're there, and that's what we're gonna shoot with. But to answer your question, we had a very large man wearing a suit. His name is Jamie Hall, and the cool nerdy trivia part is he's the nephew of Kevin Peter Hall, who played the Predator.
Sure, absolutely.
So that was
that's great.
Exciting. And then the head was animatronically controlled by a couple puppeteers.
Nice.
And the bear had a makeup artist assigned to just the bear, because as the bear goes through the movie, he gets bloodier and bloodier for various reasons.
Sure.
And yes, how big was he? He was pretty big.
I think doesn't Jamie stand at 6'4"?
Yeah,
Is he about
the guy in
6'4",
the suit's
6'5"?
about 6'5"
Yeah.
alone.
Nice.
And then I think another interesting part
Another
about
couple feet on top of that.
Another interesting part about the bear, though, is even though Jamie's in there, he could barely see, so he was relying on kind of knowing what his movements were, kind of walking through the scene and the choreography beforehand, and then hoping that the two puppeteers would kind of help him with movement if he was lost.
Great.
Yeah, and I had to shout at him, in the trees. I'm like, forward, quarter left, quarter left, 45 right.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
and
great.
we had this stunt, actually. There's a spoiler here if you don't want to know who dies in the movie, but I'm gonna spoil it right now. There's a scene where Stephanie gets eaten.
Right.
And
I
was nervous about this
was
stunt.
going to bring up because
we filmed this on location in a lodge, and she's supposed to get taken out by this guy. The suit's huge.
Yeah.
Like, it towers over her.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to run in and tackle her.
Right.
And we've got there's a rock fireplace sitting there, and like we had to pad all that, and these logs from the log house, like that was real. And like the claws are hard, and the teeth are hard. And I mean, did you get whacked?
I did. There was actually a take where I got whacked in the head and literally,
really?
I was gone. Yeah,
well,
for
wow.
about a few seconds. Just trying to figure out how to get him to see me because he couldn't see anything.
She does all her own stunts, by the way.
I did all my own stunts. And the timing was insane, but there was one where his paw literally whacked me in the head.
Oh, good God.
I went down.
Oh,
but I got back up. So it's all that matters.
Sometimes you eat the bear, other times the bear eats you.
Exactly.
But that's amazing.
Yeah.
So was there any part of the bear that you filmed without the guy in the suit that you had to like get like a a secondary unit type of a shot, like for a facial or something?
Absolutely, that's exactly right. There's a few times when it was just a head,
right,
and we were just filming with just that. And it was like a hand in it, controlling it like a puppet.
Yeah.
Specifically, some shots where it's like eating someone's innards. That
Oh,
kind of thing.
okay.
Like,
Yeah,
you don't
yeah,
need the
yeah,
whole
yeah.
bear for that. You
Right.
just need the mouth and some guts and a lot of blood.
Great.
It's fake blood, by the way, everyone. It's Hollywood.
Well, I bought it as real.
Okay, that's
So,
good.
And then there was another scene that I wanted to talk about. Okay, and this is going to lead me sort of kind of into locations, and we could still talk special effects because I'm just fascinated by this. So there's a scene, again, spoiler, 5, if you don't want to know about a particular death, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, turn off, come back in about a minute or so, maybe longer. But, okay, so the first death, one of the models...
First on-screen death.
First on-screen death. Okay, the first on-screen death.
There were 700 deaths before that.
Say there were about,
And
yeah.
the whole facility gets wiped out. There's
Right.
700 scientists in there, and they all get eaten, and you hear about it.
There were a lot of extras.
Yeah,
that's
a lot
good.
of them. I mean, some of them are the same guy. I don't want to ruin anything, but we better get to the thing before the spoiler people turn
Well, I just wanted,
on.
I wanted to know. All right, so here you are in Alaska, okay, and it's cold. This took place on an ice pond and
Giant ice river.
yeah,
Over.
and it looked. I mean, my first instinct was they had to film this in a soundstage because there's no
Right.
freaking way they're getting. She was, in a bikini more or less,
Oh,
and
that
she
was
gets
location.
dragged. That was location.
When she gets dragged down the ice hole,
Yeah.
that was not location. Those two
Okay.
quick shots.
We wanted to do it that way, but it
I
just
didn't.
didn't work out.
I was nervous about it.
Yeah, well,
Because let me tell you
hypothermia.
something. It was
lawsuit.
at best we were at minus 20 degrees out there.
Well, yeah, well, then a little movie magic. How is that? How did you accomplish that? Because to me,
We actually went to the producer Ron's
Yeah.
pool in
Okay.
West Hollywood in his backyard, and we built out of wood a stage over it with a hole in the middle of it.
Nice,
And
okay.
we covered it all with fake snow and real snow, and we put a green screen behind it, and we just put a couple quick shots of her going down into the hole, and then the rest is practical again.
yeah, well,
Still
good job.
real bear though, by the way. No CG bear.
Oh, good. So, well, I was just like I was like, okay, I know this is low budget, but there's no way an actress is going to that's beyond freezing water. Allow herself with nothing on to get dragged in.
Yeah.
But the effect worked in making it really look as if we're on location. So thank you for sharing. Welcome back to all those people who didn't want to hear a spoiler.
Hey,
but
we didn't say
when you
which
watch,
model died,
yeah,
you
when
know,
you
just
watch
one
the
of them.
movie and come back, if you haven't watched it already, you're gonna get a nice piece of movie magic filmmaking.
I'm pretty
and how it's done.
sure. I'm pretty sure that shot's actually in the trailer, so I don't think we're letting too much out of it.
We'll watch the trailer now. Well, after we're done.
I always say
Yeah.
if you're gonna watch a movie, don't even watch the trailer. Just watch the movie.
You know,
That's how I roll.
it's funny. I'm part of another show here called Anatomy of a Movie, and it's a panel of great folk. I'm just so blessed and honored to be able to do this sort of thing, and I work with these great panelists, and one of them. His name's John. He doesn't watch trailers at all for movies. Now, I grew up watching trailers for movies, and then it ended up being my job getting trailers up on screen for movies. So I can't escape. I can't, like, when a trailer comes out, it's like I gotta see the trailer.
It's amazing when you go see a movie. Almost every trailer that comes up, you're like, that movie looks amazing.
It does, yeah.
And then you just never get around to seeing it.
Yeah, and
you
that's
just don't have the time.
That's throughout the history of trailers that I know. And then, we could talk about the debate of what tells too much of the story, spoilers, and
some of them are pretty bad.
You can go back to the 70s and look at trailers for like Close Encounters, and I swear to God that trailer runs like 5 minutes long. But there was nobody marketing to get trailers up on screen with other movies and such like that. So you were lucky to get maybe 2 trailers on a movie back then. So to have a 5-minute trailer was just normal.
And that's the only place you'd hear about stuff, is,
right.
In the theater, maybe TV or newspaper.
Yeah, newspaper a lot too.
Remember when you used to get the newspaper and look at the ads?
Oh
with
my
the
God!
posters?
Oh my head! That's all.
I miss those.
That's what
And they'd be in black and white. It made some of them look cooler.
Yeah. No, that's the Sunday paper in particular is the one that I couldn't wait till the Boston Globe, the Sunday Globe came home, because I'd go, and that it was about that thick, and I would just look for the ads.
And you'd go off the artwork and the posters and who's
Absolutely.
in it, what's happening, when's it showing, what theater.
Well, I grew up in a small town, so sadly our newspaper, even at its thickest, was pretty thin. But
Colorado, if I'm correct.
Western Colorado.
Western Colorado. So I want to talk to you about you now for a bit, because your biography reads very it's very humorous.
Thank you.
Okay. And I'm gonna, so from Colorado, it says, correct me if I'm wrong at all, then it goes into went to film school, dropped out of film school, became an analyst for the military, for the Army, if I'm correct, and it reads very Chuck Barris-ish. Chuck Barris, for those who don't know, very popular game show host for a show called The Gong Show. And he had this supposed secret life as a spy, and he thought people were always trying to assassinate him. George Clooney made a fabulous movie. Sam Rockwell portrayed him. And I'm reading your thing going, analyst for the Army.
I did do
honorable
that, though.
You did do this, though.
Yeah, I was in the Army.
I want to hear about this.
And that was actually before film school. I joined the Army right out of high school.
Right out of high school.
So that's when you got to get them. Like when people are impressionable, that's when you get them in. And
but how did
indoctrinate them?
Well, then I have to know, because from what I understand, at around 4 years old is around the time you became a movie fan. So I understand you saw your first horror movie at 4?
Maybe 5.
Okay.
It was Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
Okay. All right.
Which I made it through most of it until we kept renting it though. We kept trying to get to the part when Freddy's coming out of the guy and his
yeah. Oh yeah.
It's happening again, Grady. And like the effects were so great, I couldn't take it. And it really messed with me. I mean, I was 5, but my mom was like, it's just Hollywood, it's special effects, and it's this and that, and like gave me a magazine like with their behind the scenes stuff, and that's when I became interested in watching documentaries. Like, I want to see behind the scenes. Like, how'd they do that?
So you got the film bug at an early age. You go through high school. You were still a film fan. What was it that, can I try to pursue like making movies and have fun, or I'm going to go to the Army?
You're right. It's interesting. I actually, I made movies through middle school, high school. It was just always something I did. And then, after a year or two in the Army, it came back, and I was able to, people got off my ass, and I was able to start, making movies again, shorts. And then, Command took notice, and they're like, oh, these are pretty cool. The soldiers really like them. And so they started just having me make movies, and that's when I was like, oh, maybe I should, give this a go. I'll go to film school and see what comes of it. Went to film school. Then I was like, got into some festivals, and I was like, I'll see what comes of it. I'll go there. Met people in Hollywood, got a job, and now I'm here.
It was all by just saying yes. So you're in the Army. You're doing intelligence.
Everyone knows that.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
Some smart people in there.
I
trust
believe
me.
it. That they wouldn't take me. So how long were you in the Army for?
6 years active, 2 reserve.
Really? Yeah. So let's just call that 8. And
I've been out for 10 years now,
right.
So it's like a totally another lifetime now. I'm
right.
way too cynical to ever join the military.
But it's just, I mean, to me, it's just a weird track. It's not weird. It's an interesting track to take, to go on, and then you did this, and if I read correctly, again, honorable discharge, which means what, you left?
If you did your time, you didn't get kicked out.
Okay.
So
was it anything like, if I go to the Army, they'll pay for my school, stuff like that?
Absolutely. I mean, look, they've got, they had some good deals. Not to sound like an Army
recruiter,
no. But it paid for most of my film school.
There you go.
For 2 years, I didn't have to work a job. I just went to college.
Right.
and since I only did 4 or 5 hours a day, the rest of the time I just had to play video games, watch movies, or make movies.
And where did you go to college? Where did
I went to Colorado Film School.
Okay.
In Denver, which is part of Colorado University.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And then you come out here, you're making movies. One of your first movies was I'm not sure, is a Ghostbusters sequel. It was a Ghostbusters movie.
Yeah.
Coming back, right?
I made a movie called Freddy vs. Ghostbusters in 2004, which is before I went to film school, so I didn't like the production values are a little shoddy, but it's got a lot of charm. I recommend for Halloween season, give it a watch. It only wastes 30 minutes of your life. So
but there was another Ghostbusters.
Right, that was the film that actually led me to Hollywood. I did a feature length film called Return of the Ghostbusters. Right. And I did that in film school my last year there because every year they want you to make a short, and by that time in film school I'd already made not just like 4 or 5 shorts in film school, but like 40 or 50 shorts leading up to film school. Like I've been doing it my whole life, and I was like, we got to do a feature, guys. Like this is what we're doing.
So all right. So my two questions.
Yeah, we raised $3,000 about. Made a feature length Ghostbusters film. It's shot in standard definition.
Well,
so it's.
I wanted to ask. So you're in film school. I went to BU film, and I just knew how it was. If you tried to do anything that was remotely commercial, they crap all over your idea. So here you are. You needed to get this approved. You had the support.
I didn't get it approved.
You didn't get it approved.
We were shooting this on the side secretly, and we did like a fake film over a weekend. And
Fair enough.
And that's what we were checking out our equipment for the whole time. Sorry, film school guys. I lied.
No, but that's great. Now the other sort of great story from this comes. I understand that you get a call from Ghostbuster creator himself, Dan Aykroyd, or his agent, or his
done
office.
Some research.
I do.
Wow.
So, all right. So, and it was a please stop. Not necessarily a cease and desist.
No, he was really nice about it, but he's like, because I just sent a DVD of Freddy vs. Ghostbusters to Dan Aykroyd. I was like, hey, be cool if you guys just saw it.
Okay.
Be cool if, so I'm just some kid in Colorado, I don't know. And I just get this call, and this agent's like, I'm Dan Aykroyd's agent, like, he's not getting this DVD. He has no knowledge of this project, and I would recommend that you don't, pursue you stop production on your new one, or we're gonna have to pass this down to Sony and Columbia. And and I at first for like I was shaken for maybe 30 seconds. I was like, oh shit, thinking about it, and then I was like, what, that guy probably thinks we're like doing this to sell it, like, and when that wasn't the deal. Like we're just putting it out on the internet for free. But I'll tell you, the entire 2 years I worked on that movie, I was a little worried that they would pull the plug at some point. Not because, we were going to lose money or anything. There's no money to lose. It's just like you work on something for so long, you just want people to see it. Right. And it's like even with Unnatural, it's like, do I want it to make, hundreds of millions of dollars and make everyone that believed in us, like, wealthy? Yes, that would be great. But, as filmmakers, we just want people to see the movie, really. That's all as long as the bills are paid and people are watching the movie, that's great. Yeah, and you work together to try to put out the best product that you possibly can. Right. The Ghostbusters thing, I was thinking, and you answered the question, but I would have been like, yeah, wow. On one hand, I would have been like, holy shit, Dan Aykroyd. I got a call from his office, and then it would be like, holy shit, Dan Aykroyd called, and they're telling me to stop what I'm doing. Yeah, and you're like, oh my god. When you're just some college kid in Colorado too at the time. Yeah. It wasn't, and this is back pre-YouTube, pre any of that stuff. It was. You had to get a phone call, not even an email. Yeah, it was right. It was Hey, it was he's lucky he got a phone call and not like a letter. From let's take a letter from the lawyers. Yeah, that's true. That's true. You could be making this up all, as we talk. I don't even know. I don't even know where you found that info. That's amazing. It's it's out there. Cool. I heard it I heard it on the grapevine. Going up to Vegas, that grapevine over there. I heard it through there. So, but to me, that's a great story because of number one. You're doing what you want to do. You're having fun, and then I was going to ask, well, how the hell did he find out about it? Well, schmuck, I sent him a video. Yeah, I'm the and I'm the schmuck in this case, and I still do schmucky things. Yeah, don't we all? It's one of the sad truths about doing indie film is you gotta send it out there to people. You gotta be like, somebody please watch this. Sure. Somebody please love me and just let me work again. Well, I just think that it's a great. I think it's a great story because it also shows a perseverance, and you getting seen, and so I think and you're here now. So and you can ask Steph. It's like you're constantly working at it. Like, you're constantly putting stuff out there and talking to people and helping people with the hope that, they'll be there if you need them, that kind of thing. And it's a huge community of artists here. Like, I know everyone sees TMZ and all these top movies and, Tom Hanks and all these. Like, but down below the surface where us indies are, it's like we really do, we work together and help each other. And
you scratch and claw for, but it's working together. And believe me, I understand, when I first started at Lionsgate, it truly was an independent film company. And to get... Yeah, and I literally had to scratch, claw, beg, borrow, steal to get like a poster up, in a theater. So, I got to go through that whole growing process with them up to their first like $100 million movie, which was Expendables, and but it was a fantastic like journey just to see a company evolve. But I understand the plight of the independents, and now I still continue to work with movie theaters, and particularly a lot of the independents. And you're in a common thing. You were in a common business, and you help each other out, and you do what you can. And I always found that the independents, you had to think a little bit more out of the box.
Oh yeah, but that's
you didn't
the
have
fun.
the budget. Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be like all Debbie Downer about these indie filmmakers. They got it so hard every day. They eat a bowl of rice and sleep on the floor. Like, it's not that, maybe that's true for a couple people, but like, we really love doing it. Like, we have a good time. Like, can't complain. Like, you know what I mean?
So I like that. So I want to, and don't worry, I'm gonna get to you.
I feel bad.
I'm gonna get to you.
I don't do the spotlight thing
because actually now that I'm going into now that I am going into talking about location, you were there. You all were there. Yes. Okay, why? Number one, why Alaska? There are plenty of places. Maybe here in California, like there are mountains here. There's like Big Bear. You could have filmed it in Big Bear, and like there are places, but you chose to go to Alaska in January. Like, why?
That part just worked out, but
well,
Ron and the producers really pushed for it. Yeah.
There was talk of Big Bear if we chose to stay in LA. One of the big pushes, that's a word, pushes, to go to Alaska was the tax credit.
Okay.
Which is now no longer available, but
interesting.
That was a big push.
Is that a Sarah Palin thing?
No, sadly, we didn't get to whistle at this time. Yeah, but she's still up there.
Is she?
Yeah.
We didn't see her, and I thought in Alaska we'd definitely be able to see her house.
Well, at least Russia.
Yes.
Yeah, Russia we could see.
Oh, good, good. Okay, then it made the trip worthwhile.
Yeah, it's in the. It's actually in the movie. It's in the background.
Okay, that's great. So Alaska, they gave you a great tax credit.
Correct.
Was there any trepidation? It's like, okay, I get the tax credit, but we're gonna go to Alaska in January. It's like everybody has a weather app on their phone. You knew it was gonna be freaking freezing. Well, like, how did that?
You want me to take this?
No, we could both take it.
Yeah, please.
Why don't you start?
I don't think, if I remember correctly, we didn't initially want to shoot all the movie in January. We pushed production.
Oh, okay.
At least a month.
When Ron Carlson first called me and wanted to do this movie with me, this was like December of 2012, I want to say.
Yeah, I mean, the script got changed many a times.
We were planning to shoot in like July or August.
And then we switched it to winter, and then it became, okay, Big Bear if we stay here, then the tax credit in Alaska, and we knew people up in Alaska were like, oh yeah, we're great, and we thought, well, this could be a fun experience. And so we decided to go to Alaska, not thinking we'd be there in January.
Gotcha.
And then all of a sudden, ironically, when you say it was freezing cold, we got lucky. That was a warm January for Fairbanks, Alaska, which is
-20.
Sounds crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, the coldest day was -50.
Great.
And the warmest day, I think, was 20 degrees.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, the first week and a half we were there
-30.
Was -15 at best, that kind of thing. And when we're looking at the weather upcoming and you see 10 degrees. And you start going, yes!
You get
that's
excited.
That's going to be awesome. 10 degrees? Are you kidding me?
Yep.
When it got up to 20 degrees, I had my jacket off and I was working in a T-shirt.
Did they
get used to it.
Did they talk wind chill? Like the wind chill fact? Like
there really wasn't any wind in Fairbanks, so we didn't have to worry about that.
Okay.
Have you ever been in one of those walk-in freezers at a restaurant?
I grew up in Boston. We've had our share of cold weather and wind chill.
But it has that feeling. It's like it's
like cold. Yeah.
And it's still. The air is completely still. There's like no movement. There's nothing. It's just like it's legit minus 20.
Oh,
It's
good.
not. It's not because of wind chill.
So did it pose any challenge with your cast? Like, did you have how did you get James Remar to like, hey, we're gonna go up to Alaska? Like, was he immediately on board, or did he was like Alaska? Like, how did anybody say?
No, he was definitely, he wanted to do the part.
Yeah.
I think most people are on board. I mean,
Good.
the idea of going on location, I think, is exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times do you get flown to
That's
a place
true.
most people don't go
Right.
every holiday? But I think he was fine. I think he just wanted to make sure he was going to be safe in terms of
Right.
not getting frostbite, not
everybody-
getting
Sure.
hypothermia.
I'll tell you though, the scene where he's got to dip down and he's got to put his finger in the blood next to the ice hole, and he
Yeah.
had to take both his gloves off
Yeah.
on screen and do that. Every time afterwards, he's like, "Jeez," getting his gloves back on. Like, he's like, "Man, it doesn't. It's you think it's cold until you take off your stuff."
Yeah.
But he was like, he was really awesome. Like,
Yeah.
he loved it. He started, driving the snowmobile around, and
Yep.
he
Great.
loved his, outfit and his gun, and he's like, "Yeah, let's do this." Like, he was really.
He was into it.
Yeah, he got into it, and he was, pushing things.
Yeah.
This will be cool.
And for me, I mean, I grew up. He's Gans, 48 Hours, and
Right.
he always seemed to play a bad guy after that. And I know he's on a television series. I think he plays a good guy. But it was refreshing to see him in a heroic role.
Yeah, totally.
So it was good for him.
He's, the
man.
man
Yeah.
in the film, and he
Yeah.
does a great job at it. Like, he's just one of those guys. It's like easy to watch. He's just
Right.
cool to watch.
Right.
He's got that, there's a star quality.
He has a,
what do you want?
and there's a look to it. I always like he's a, he comes up as a character actor who's always getting, villain type roles, and by his
deep
looks
voice.
and such, and he's got the deep voice, a face that. But I always find that when actors like that, when they can break out and maybe play a father or something a little more sympathetic, you go, oh yeah, he can act, he can do something better, and
he
I
has
like
some-
to see him this way.
And as heroic as he is in the film too, he's got some like warm scenes.
Yeah.
Or two
Yeah.
where he is very fatherly.
Absolutely.
And it's like, I trust that guy.
Great. So the cabin that's in Alaska, this is an actual cabin that
You can stay there.
you can stay there. Is
Yeah.
it so
Plug it,
it's a resort
Steph.
or
The Ashen Log House.
Ashen
Don
Log House.
and Paul Andrews. If I messed that up, I'm so sorry.
nice?
Don and Paul
And
Andrews.
and
They're a
Sydney,
wonderful couple.
the bird.
Sydney, yeah, she's a cockatoo.
Yeah.
She talks. She would
Great.
say hi. She'd be like, "Hello."
She
does
lived
that.
there.
So did you filmed a lot of interiors there? It looked
I
like,
mean,
yeah.
it was about 50-50.
Okay. How many days in Alaska were you there for?
I was there for like 30, 35.
Okay.
But, we had to go up like a week early, and then in December before that, we'd had a scouting trip. And then, it was technically 21 shoot days
Right.
with 1 day off per week, which
Okay.
was also brutal. Like,
So
we-
it was 21 shoot days
Yes.
for everybody, and it was pretty much most of it was all up there except for the pool when you had to redress
Right.
a pool.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not
Which was
bad.
interesting because we shot, at minus 20, and then we came back to LA, or, minus 35 on the worst day. And then we're in West Hollywood a month later, and it's 80 degrees, and we're by the pool, and we're shooting the same scene.
Yeah.
So it was pretty,
That's cool.
yeah.
Let me ask this too. Again, technology, cold and technology don't necessarily get along. You shot this film on red camera,
Correct,
right?
yeah.
So, did the cold prohibit filming? Did the technology just freeze? How did you keep it warm? Because I can't even imagine you trying to even do this in film, because
because there's moving parts.
Yeah.
With a digital camera, at least it's all circuits and things.
Yeah.
And traditionally electronics do better in if you keep them cold. Like if they
Right.
overheat, it's kind of worse. But there's a point where if it gets too cold, they start acting wonky too. The camera, the Red Epic, was actually fine the
Yeah.
whole time, like no problems.
Great.
It was the lenses that we started to kind of ruin.
Okay.
Yeah, we
Did they
trashed.
crack? Did they if you brought
There's a
them from
protective-
outside into inside?
Right. Well, there's a process. You had to bring it from one room to another, and then slowly
Yeah.
warm them up between.
It's like
shoots.
depressurizing from a dive.
Exactly, but even so, the protective coating that's on the
Right.
glass was starting to crystallize because it was so cold, and so for a few days we're shooting with built-in diffusion on these lenses. So it's
Wow.
it was interesting.
That must have caused some havoc for
Well-
the cinematographer. It's like, oh my god.
I mean,
Or for everybody.
yeah, of course it did, but he adapted. Mark is very rugged. He's already got all his Patagonia. I mean, he's shot on
been
like
on the
crab
Deadliest
fishing boats.
Catch,
Yeah.
So he was
Okay.
pretty aware of
And he was like,
extreme.
he's one
Smart
of those guys
thinking.
you could like count on to just be like, we'll deal with it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we'll do this and this.
Great. So, Stephanie, now I'm going to go on to you. Okay. So, getting you here was easy. I'd gotten an email. I got an email saying, hey, there's this horror movie out. Stephanie Hodos, Hodos, is going to come in for an interview. Would you like to do it? I love doing it. Yes. I would just say yes. So then I like to research. Because I want to make it conversational, but I want to talk about the person as well. So I start looking you up, and I was like, first I went to Unnatural to look it up on IMDb, and I see a Stephanie Hodos, Hodes. Said okay. Then there was a Stephanie, I forget her last name. There was one of the producers. There's a Stephanie there. Then I noticed a Mark Hodos, Hodos, and then I'm thinking, well, maybe somebody at AfterBuzz there was a misspelling, because it could happen. But I don't know who I'm interviewing, and maybe this Stephanie producer, because it said you are a producer and you want to be an actress and you want to be behind the scenes. So, but I see this producer and I'm like, well, maybe she's married to Mark, and she just didn't change her name. What? So I call over here, hey guys, and I'm on the road now too. I'm on the road for work, and I'm trying to get all this done, and I'm like going to meetings, and I'm like, how am I going to do that? I don't know who's showing up. So then, thank you very much. I was with Mia and I'm sorry, Olivia. I was emailing and said, guys, you got to help me. Like, I don't know who's coming in, and I have to be researched. And Olivia's here, and she was so fantastic, and she did help me. And I finally got, okay, so it's Hodos is her name, Hodos. I said, great. It's misspelled in IMDb. Okay, that happens. Okay, and then I watched the movie, and I'm seeing the movie, and it's Hodes. I'm like going, son of a bitch! How did she let them like misspell her name on the credits of the movie? And then I was upset at him, going, you're supposed to watch over your people here, and how does this happen? But then no, it actually was sort of correct in the movie. And Hodos is right, and Mark Hodos is right, and you're related to him. He's your dad. And so what is up with your last name?
So let me break it down.
Yes.
I was born OS.
OS.
Right? Born OS, and I grew up doing
Off-screen.
commercials.
Off-screen.
I grew up doing commercials, and about, say, 10 years ago, maybe it was more than 10 years ago, I went to prove headshots. They got proved incorrectly. I needed them. I had an audition like the next day, and they gave me a badge, and it came back as ES, and I was like, okay, we'll just make it ES, because it's easier to pronounce than OS, because people say Hodos, Hodis. So I was like, ES, okay, that's the name. So when I started working on the production side, I figured OS would just be a different distinction.
Right.
And apparently it was a horrible idea, because I confused you beyond belief. But now we're just going with OS all
You're
the
just
way.
going with
but
OS,
I am the
that's
same
good.
person.
You are the same person. Well, that's
There's
good.
no
I'm glad.
fake alias.
I'm
It's
glad
me, I promise.
I'm glad I got one of you in here today.
I've seen some different
Olivia,
sides.
thank you very much. I mean, I'm glad because.
Well, I'm hoping to bring the other one tomorrow, but I want to surprise you.
Thank you. So now your dad is a producer.
Yes.
You want to get into producing, much like a Galen Hurd type of.
Get in, but am in. I'm a member of
Sorry,
the
I didn't
Producers
mean
Guild.
any
No, it's all
disrespect,
good. I'm
but-
just helping you along with
Yeah,
the
thank you
question.
very much.
So I worked on All American Christmas Carol as an executive producer. Worked on Unnatural also as an EP, and I'll be working on Dead Ant, which Hank will be working on also over here as a producer.
Great. Yeah. And so behind the camera, in front of the camera, what do you prefer?
That's a hard question. I like both. It depends on the project.
Except when you get hit in the head by a bear?
Yeah. When I get hit,
fun. She was about to say she loved it. So.
I did.
Carry on.
I did. No, it was. I like doing the stunts. It's nice to be able to do your own stunts. It's great when people want to come in and do them for you, but it kind of brings you closer to the part and what you're doing when you're doing your own stunts.
So it seems like you had the movie bug when you were a kid. It seemed like maybe going out, like family going out to the movie night was a common thing in your household.
Yeah,
with your
and
dad?
like we also discussed, I mean, looking at the Sunday paper and looking at what movies were out and not always listening to what reviews said and kind of forming your own opinion after watching was something I really enjoyed.
That's fantastic. So what was your, do you remember what your first movie was going to?
No, but I do have this is a really funny one. I do remember it about, I think I might have been maybe fifth grade, going to see Jurassic Park, ironically, with my father. And my dad said to me, now if you get scared, let me know. We'll leave. And I'm like, okay. And at one point, I grab his arm, and he's like, are you scared? Do you want to leave? I'm like, no, I'm just cold. I was freezing because I keep the movie theaters like like a hospital.
And you're living in Florida, if I'm correct.
Like Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Okay.
So I'm literally, I think I might have been at a Universal theater at that point.
Right.
And literally, I was just freezing. And as I'm leaving, all these women, we'll call them senior citizen women, no disrespect to senior citizens, I'm just not going to give anyone's age. All these women say, weren't you scared? And I'm like, no, it was all make-believe.
Great.
And at that point, I loved watching the details and seeing how it was made.
Well, now I want to ask you something too. We'll get a little serious here because it's a topic that's running through Hollywood. It's rampant, actually, within these past few years. I know I mentioned it a lot in Anatomy of a Movie. And there's the women's equality in filmmaking and in film and in movies and such. It's a big thing that's going on right now, and I'm all for it. I love it, and I think that you have a woman. What I do think is not. There's a lot of actresses out there who are going out there charging for the cause, which is fantastic. I don't think there's enough people focusing on the women who are really successful at not just being an actress, but producing, such as yourself. I mean, this is great because this will inspire other young girls, like, I can do this. And when you look at what Kathleen Kennedy has accomplished in her life, and women have run, like there was Nikki Rocco not too long ago. She just retired from running distribution for Universal Studios. There are powerful women who have like these great positions, and I want to give them as much credit as well. But I also want to know your thoughts on this. I want to know your thoughts on the topic.
I think it's great. I think finding a project you like and being able to be, if you want, on the both sides of the camera is great. If you want to be on one side, it's fine. But I think it's more just picking stories that you like and having a say in helping drive what people think of as entertaining or putting on a new perspective that you don't necessarily see. And I'm happy to be part of that, hopefully.
Right.
But that's what drives me.
Yep.
Do I really need the recognition of being this? Nah, it's great. But really, it's more about, for me personally, and like King said, it's more about the work.
Right.
And putting out interesting, eye-opening and motivating pieces in some way that give people the idea that, I can do that too, especially if you're, a 10-year-old girl sitting out there wondering, well, there's no parts, it's really a male-driven industry.
And I understand the complaint. I do. And I understand the plight and the fight. I get it. And that's why I am, like, it's great that you are here. It's great to show that there are particularly young people, too, who are doing this, and you're getting independent film made. And that, to me, it's a breath of fresh air to hear, and that it can be done. I understand that it can be harder for some. Sure. I get it.
We got a long ways to go.
Yeah, absolutely. But you're a great step in a good direction.
Like Stephanie, I'd like to tell all you ladies who are actors and want to be on screen and stuff, stop just being an actor. Make your stuff. Be a producer too. You'll love doing it. Like, know the ins and outs of the production and direct stuff too. Do it all. Like, there's no reason you can't do it. You can go out and get a $500 camera and a computer with Adobe Premiere or whatever, and you're good to go. Like, just do it. Like, you can absolutely do it.
Right.
And if you know how to break down a script, you can do anything with it.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. Acting is great, and maybe you have a great acting career ahead of you, but do both. Do it like she said, break down scripts, do it all, make your own stuff, and then you can do whatever you want.
And I find, like I said, I look at you, and you're an inspiration. Not just you're an inspiration to young women who want to get into this, but I think to anybody who wants to get into film and or TV, you as well, your perseverance had paid off. You had a passion for this, and like, you need that. But first and foremost, you need a love of movies.
Right.
There are so many people.
You gotta love what you do.
You gotta love what you do.
Maybe you like repairing photocopiers. There's nothing wrong with that.
I get it.
But I think
there are some people in this.
do.
I'm sure you've run across. There are some people who work in this fine business of ours, this wacky business of ours, who don't really like movies, or who rarely ever step inside of a movie theater.
There are people that want fortune and glory, kid.
Right.
That's all
But
I'm saying.
let me add something to that. I
Yeah,
don't
please.
think you should love art. I don't know if I want to say you have to be a movie lover. You
Sure.
might find movies.
Right.
Because for me, I love telling great stories that,
Right.
Are fun to watch. Because sometimes I go to theater and I think, really, that's what they want to tell me? That's for $14?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you should know that wasn't all they're doing.
Right.
Like,
Yeah,
being
but-
part of
but-
it, who's pulling the strings.
I do,
you know?
but I love when you see an independent because there's more heart and it's really about the story.
Can
And like
be.
Hank said before, the people coming together and making
It's the
what
most
they
collaborative
love.
art form that's
It
ever
is,
existed.
and when it works great.
Aside from maybe video games.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree, but the way I look at commercial, even we want to say blockbuster and independent. I've seen a lot of shit independent movies, and I've seen a lot of shit commercial movies. I mean,
I hope you don't think our movie's shit.
No, absolutely not. No, and again, yours was definitely a throwback. It reminded me of this movie that came out shortly after Jaws. It was another exploitation creature feature movie called Grizzly. Yeah, Richard Jekyll.
Probably the best movie ever made about a grizzly that gets, spoiler alert, blown up with a bazooka.
Yeah.
Where did the bazooka come from?
Yeah.
Another great thing about this one, it's about a polar bear.
It's about a polar bear.
Name me a movie about a polar bear. You can't.
Live action.
I was going to say Coca-Cola commercials
Right,
in the winter.
Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
I mean, there's really nothing about
Yeah.
a polar bear.
No,
which
it's,
is what's so great, I think.
So it was a
different.
nice throwback. Speaking of throwbacks and such, I want to talk a little bit about some. I don't know if this was conscious, if this was, done on purpose. For lack of better words, I'm just going to call it. I noticed two shots that, to me, I said, oh, maybe that's an Easter egg. So I want to. I could be completely wacky. I don't know. All right. So the first shot I noticed comes. They're both towards the beginning of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
One is helicopter is coming into land, and you had a shot from the cockpit of the helicopter, and I looked at it and I said, wow, that looks like the cockpit of a snowspeeder in Empire Strikes Back. It even had like the little thing, and I was like, I didn't know if that was on purpose.
That was totally,
That's
it's just a
coincidence?
shot. It was a coincidence because we were just filming in a plane. We needed that shot.
Right.
But yeah, it did. Well, and the scenery helped set that up because where we
Right.
filmed looks like Hoth. It just,
Yeah.
And it was.
Yeah.
If we stayed outside overnight, our tauntauns would have definitely frozen.
Yeah. So
I had a guy picked out on set. I'm like, I'm going to cut you open and crawl inside.
So that was, to me, that was just my Star Wars. I go, that looks like the inside of a snowspeeder. I wonder if you did that on purpose. Quick tangent. Did you get your Star Wars tickets yet?
Nah, I'll get them when I
No.
get what I want.
No.
I'll call the studio.
Oh, good. I'll give. Well, see, I can't do that.
Hey,
even
Dan
doing
Aykroyd's
this.
agent called me once. Can I get Star Wars
Can I
tickets?
get Star Wars tickets? Well, then I'll brag because I don't have much to brag about.
Is there a
other than
second shot
I
we
have-
need to pick apart real fast?
I have tickets for Thursday and Friday night.
Ooh,
so,
great.
all right. My next Easter egg then was there. Then there was an exterior shot. It looked like an aerial view of the compound of not the cabin,
research
the
facility.
research facility.
Right.
And I thought, that looks like it could be the compound from John Carpenter's The Thing. Because there's an exterior shot, and I didn't know if there was
Absolutely. The whole vibe of this film we felt was you felt the thing the whole time you're filming up there. And the company that made the bear made the Thing monster for the remake
Right.
before it was switched to CGI. So there was I love the Thing. Who
Me
doesn't?
too.
It's like one of the best horror movies ever
Absolutely.
made. And when you're filming in Arctic conditions, you can't help but think about it.
Yeah.
And again, shooting anamorphically and old school, we kind of tried to send a little love letter back to that kind of thing.
Well, that's fantastic, and I have to say thank you so much for coming here, and I really appreciate what you do. And
that's a sweet pin, by the way. I just noticed your Starfleet
thanks.
Insignia there.
Yeah, that's the Starfleet pen. I got it from a Star Trek convention.
Love it.
Thank you very much. You know, I did want to talk about horror a little bit. I know that we're running out of time, but past, present, future. You know, we talked about practical effects and then going into CG effects.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a huge horror fan, and what are your thoughts of like where's horror going? Like what is your favorite? What is each of yours favorite horror movie? And you know, what do you think of the state of horror today?
Let's you start.
Oh gosh, I think
talk
my
so
favorite
much,
ones
like-
are the Chucky films. I love
Okay.
them.
I love that.
I don't know why I used to watch them at
They're great.
night.
That's why.
Because
They
they're
were just,
fun.
I don't know why they were so great, but yeah, I love them. In terms of the state of horror, I think you're definitely getting, I don't want to say more female driven, but you have a lot more female in horror than you used to, like we were talking about before.
Right.
And I think you're going to have more story driven, plot driven, campy, yes, but not necessarily as slasher. You're always going to have
Sure.
the slasher side, but I think
Let's hope
possibly
so.
a throwback to 1950s horror.
Right.
Where there's more, it's a story-based piece. There's a creature. There's a thing.
Right.
It's more intellectual than
Sure.
what we've been seeing the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, horror always kind of has a finger on the pulse of society and
Yeah.
you know, current events, pop culture, that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of a way for us to get out our angst about those things and problems that we're having. And it's always going to do that. And you're always going to have films that really break new ground, and you're going to have some that are just tried and true process. You're going to have some schlock. You're going to have all kinds of stuff. But the great thing about horror is horror fans want to love your horror movie.
They do.
Like, you get away with
you're
so
right.
much. You can make some mistakes, and people
Right.
they still love it. Like,
Yep.
I don't know what it is about horror people. We're just cool, I guess.
Yeah, I
More
mean,
forgiving.
They are. I agree with you. You want to be scared in one way, shape, or form. I always look
Right.
at it as a great roller coaster ride. You know, and if it's really great, it ratchets you up as you're going up that first hill, and you're like getting tense, and then it just lets you go, and you're screaming. And
Yeah.
I also am all about the movie going experience. The movie going experience is, you know, still amazing to me. I still love it, and to see a horror movie in a crowded theater.
great.
And you know, yeah,
Especially
when
if
that
you go to a
movie's-
fest,
Yeah.
like the film
Yeah.
festivals that play some of the different types of movies, because you know, it's hard to get a horror film into wide release. You know, if you're not one of the big
Right.
studio
Studios.
like tentpole films, it's
tough.
you want to see some
These
good
days.
horror films, you got to go to festivals or you know, luckily we have on demand now, video on
Right.
demand, which is, you know, our film's on there now. It's called Unnatural. You can get it on. No.
You should go watch
No,
it.
please, no. I mean, like you're here to
Xbox.
plug and
Search
and,
on Xbox, Amazon,
iTunes,
Vudu,
Google Play.
Google Play is good.
Well-
you could be like me and buy it on every one of them.
absolutely.
You know, and give it all.
And
give
if
it
you're
5
in the
stars
UK,
everywhere.
if you have any
Yeah, go
listeners
ahead.
in the UK,
Yeah, we are worldwide.
it's available November 2nd as it's called Man-Eater.
Man
It's actually
Eater.
got
Oh,
different
okay.
artwork. It's the
Interesting.
bear, and it's called Man-Eater, which is
Cool.
the legend the bear is based
Right.
off of.
Nice. Well, again, we'll wrap things up. I wanted to say thank you so much for taking the time and deal with my shenanigans and my questions.
Pleasure.
It really
No
has
problem
been.
at all.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure for me to talk about horror movies with people who actually make horror movies. So I respect your plight. Keep on doing it. What is your next project together?
It's called Dead Ant. That's the working title right now.
Dead Ant.
Yeah,
Dead Ant.
that's a-
Dead Ant. Dead Ant.
Throwback
Dead
to
Ant.
Exactly.
It's a throwback to them is the best.
Yeah,
what would you
like
call-
it's a giant
that's
ants,
the
giant
best-
ants in the desert. You know,
Like-
what else do you
Yeah.
want?
Yeah.
There doesn't have to be anything else in
get
the
it.
movie. There's
Nope.
giant ants in the desert. They're gonna eat some people.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Buy your
I
tickets.
don't want to give it away, but
Just
that's,
buy your tickets.
Yeah.
Well, I'll sell them to give you an IOU, whatever.
Well, it's fantastic, and I'm glad that you're able to get your product shown and people can see it. So again, I did it off Amazon Prime, Xbox. That's fantastic.
We appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much.
I'm
I
glad
appreciate
you
you
liked
being
it.
here. I did. I had a lot of fun, and I had a great time with you. And thank you so much. Where can people follow you on social media?
Oh, you can follow me at Braxton Film on Twitter.
Or support you. So at
Yeah.
Braxton Film.
And Braxton, by the way, is spelled Braxtan.
T-A-N.
Everyone will put O-N.
And you can find me at Stephanie Hodos with an OS.
At Stephanie Hodos. And you can support me on Twitter at dmovies1701. Tweet us, let us know what you think. As always, be part of the discussion. When you come back and watch us, if you didn't watch us live, send in what you thought about the movie, ask some questions, and tell us what you think about our great guests. I do think you guys were great. Thank you so much for your time.
No problem.
It means a lot to me to have talent and
awesome.
director.
That's awesome.
Was she? Come on, be honest. Was she difficult on set?
Absolutely not.
I don't.
But she got whacked in the head by a bear.
Yeah.
I did,
The
and
snow
I stood right back
But
up.
was that on purpose?
She fell
let's
down
just
on the
say,
snow a bunch.
Did she?
I did. That is a
Email
funny
me.
one.
Email me. I'll send you the
There
videos.
are some funny shots
Got
of
'em
me
all.
falling because the snow was like knee deep, and I literally was trying
knee
to
deep
run.
on me.
Wait,
And in this one scene, I don't want to give it away, but we run into the house. I could not run faster than everybody else. Everybody kept passing me.
Email me.
And him as a director, was he? I mean, he has a military background. Was he militant? Does he always bark orders like right now?
he was
drop
great.
and give me 20 in the snow.
No,
a good idea, though.
he was very easy to talk to, very easy to work with. If you had a question or concern, he was willing to, take the time out to answer it and make sure you felt comfortable with what you were doing. And I honestly have nothing bad to say about
Yeah.
him.
Well, final question, and that's very sweet. It just made me. That's
Tear
very
up?
nice. Yeah, I'm tearing up. Anyways, but the final question is, what was your favorite craft service meal?
There's no good food in Fairbanks, Alaska. I'm sorry.
Kraft was the only decent thing we had.
The best thing I had.
Sorry, guys.
Kraft
You know what?
macaroni and cheese.
The best
Kraft?
thing I had in Alaska, I shit you not, was Taco Bell. That's how bad it was.
There's a great diner across from their big movie theater that has
Yeah.
great calzones
I
and
didn't go
like
there.
eggs. You should go there. But also on set we had soup every now and then. That for some reason it came out of a bag and
Yeah.
it was so good. I don't know why. Probably because it was cold.
You couldn't get like salmon.
Darlene did our craft
there?
services and
Nice.
she was wonderful with the
Fantastic.
soup.
I don't mean to be mean to
no,
anybody, but
just-
it was come on. It was just kind of bland and
Just
Fairbanks.
imagine
go.
craft services in an Arctic tent.
Yeah, I was trying to.
There's
figure
a
that
difference
out.
between
Good.
craft services and your catering, by the way. I'm
Gotcha.
talking about the catering of the food.
Yeah.
Crafties.
Yeah, he
always
said
welcome.
craft, so I'm talking about craft.
Yeah.
The catering was it sustained us.
Fair enough.
That's true, and I can't
Fair
complain.
enough.
I'm not complaining, by the way.
You have sustained me and our audience for the better part of an hour. Thank you again for
sorry.
coming. And thank you for watching and or listening. The Popcorn Talk Network. I talk movies. I do talk movies. You can find me also in Anatomy of a Movie. And you can see the Jedi Alliance, Marvel Universe, DC. AfterBuzz breaks down most every single show that you can think of that's on TV, on demand, and on cable. So check us out at the Popcorn Talk Network. Thank you all very much for tuning in, listening, watching, and thanks to my great guests. You were fantastic. Thank you very much.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network. The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.